Hello, so my name is Grace Kemp. I am the new Nebraska Equine Extension Assistant working under Lena Luck. This is my first webinar, and today's topic will be over colors and markings. Something that I figured would be very helpful for those as a resource, but as they just want to expand their knowledge. This is a webinar, so I am recording this webinar time, so then we will upload it to our YouTube channel. So for those of you that could not come on tonight at 6 p.m., this will also be on the YouTube channel of the Nebraska webinar series. If you do have any questions, I will post my email on here after. So I will get this started. So today I'll start off, excuse me, with coat colors. Before I actually start on this webinar, the reasoning that I had for doing the coat colors and markings is I feel like for the youth that want to use this as a reference when they're trying to do their advancement levels, this is a very good topic for our level 2s that want to do their written exams. This will also come in handy for your knowledge if you're just trying to expand your horse knowledge or just trying to learn more about horses. Another good reasoning to know our horse coat colors and markings would be to identifying horses in emergencies or those horses that get lost. You know exactly the right terms to write down on social media so other people can help you find lost horses or animals that you got out of your pasture. And also understanding the coat colors kind of helps you understand how, for breeding purposes, how your horse inherits a particular coat. So that would also come in handy if you plan on doing that later on. We'll start with bays. Bays are considered to be a brown horse with black legs, mane, and tail. Their body color runs from about tan to reddish brown to a very dark brown. But their legs and mane and tail are always black, just like the picture showed. Their legs also can have white markings, which we'll talk about leg markings later on in the webinar series. Bays also have these black points where it's their mane, tail, and lower legs, but also their tips of their ears are considered black points, so they will have those on their bodies as another identification factor. Next would be duns and buckskins. This is pretty hard for some people to tell which is which. The biggest difference between a dun and a buckskin is what we call a dorsal stripe. So that is a dark stripe that runs down their back for the duns, and they also have striping on their legs, which buckskins also too. So the biggest way to identify the difference between a dun and a buckskin would be that dorsal stripe. Duns, by definition, have a sandy yellow to reddish brown color, usually darker legs and the dorsal stripe, but they can have striping on their legs or withers along with a dark mane and tail. Buckskins are a light to dark yellow color with black mane and tails, but no dorsal stripe. So that's, like I said, a big factor in identifying. And they don't have striping on their legs, but they will have black points, much like the bays. So the black legs, mane, tail, points of their ears. So those are the two big identifiers. Palominos are also kind of in that yellowish color with the duns and buckskins, but they're very light yellow to a copper yellow. But instead of black mane and tail or darker mane and tails, they have a white mane and tail most often. And they also don't have any dorsal stripes. Grays are an interesting color because they can look so different with different patterns that they have. A gray is normally born with a dark coat color like almost black normally, and then as they get older, they appear lighter, and they sometimes get really white as they get really old. This first photo is a good example of a dapple gray. A dapple gray has dark hair coat with dapples, which are considered these dark little rings with lighter hairs on the inside. And then compared to that is our iron gray. So they're pretty dark, close to black, but you can tell that they have those white hairs intermingled in there too. And then a flea-bitten gray, which I see a lot of the times, are they have a white body, and then they have these very, very tiny flecks of brown or black colors around their whole body. They tend to be more noticeable when they're younger, and then a little bit less noticeable as they get older, but this is a great example, this third photo. Paint or pinto, or paint. They are considered to have white with large patches of black, brown, or chestnut, or any other color with the white patches. A big difference between a paint and a pinto is just the markings on the horse. It's not a breed, as paint is considered also to be a breed. But different classifications, because all that white spots and like markings on their bodies can get really crazy, and so we have classifications within those. So a piebald would be considered this first horse. So it's black and white in coloring, so very flashy. You can see both colors very nicely. Other than that would be our skewbald, would be very similar to our piebald, but it'd be any other color than black. So it could be brown, it could be lighter brown, it could be sorrel, but just a different color other than the black and white. Tobiano would be considered this horse right here. All four legs are white with darker spots around the body that extend down and over the neck of the chest. So this is a great example. Compared to what we call an overo paint, it has the dark color that goes over its back with white underneath. So if you ever want to tell the difference between a Tobiano and an overo always has that darker color that goes over its back. Another thing that people get confused with in coloring would be brown versus black. Brown horses look black in certain lightings. Black horses sometimes look brown in certain lightings. But to really tell them apart would be a brown has the brown body color that's almost black, but has tanned to lighter brown hairs around their muzzles and flanks, along with their mane and tails being black. So in this photo, you can clearly see the lighter brown hairs around his muzzle. You can slightly see the lighter hairs around his flank versus this black horse. You can tell he's just more black, but he does not have that lighter hair around the muzzle. He has fine black hair around his muzzles. Very similar with the brown and black. Sorrel and chestnut can be kind of considered the same term depending on the breed association that you are kind of going with. But in most cases, a sorrel is reddish to copper red. The mane and tail are the same color as the body, but maybe flaxen. Flaxen is considered the mane and tail that are pale yellow to tan in color. A chestnut, some people would consider this horse to be more chestnutty, more of a brown liver color, but they also have a mane and tail that is dark or brownish red, or also can be flaxen, which is why sorrel and chestnut can kind of be used as the same term, just depending on the type of horse you're talking about and the breed association you're going with. Roans, I think personally are some of the prettiest colors that you see. Roans are considered to have the white hairs intermingled with whatever base color that they come out with. This first photo is considered a red or strawberry roan. So they have a base coat of a sorrel with chestnut with the white and yellow hairs intermingled. So this will be normally on the main part of their bodies. And then they'll have the darker hair on their head and lower legs. And they can have red or flaxen mane and tail with that too. The blue roan, which this photo right here, because of with the blaze coat and the white hairs intermingled, they look kind of bluish in color. But just like the roan, they'll have darker head and lower legs, along with mane and tails. Lastly, we have a bay roan. So much like the bays we talked about earlier, they have the black points, they have the bay body or the brown body, but they also have white hairs intermingled along with it, but still have their black points and black mane and tail. Appaloosas would be next. Appaloosas are solid in color, can be, or can have the mottled skin with the light color over their loins and hips. Another good identification is that they normally have white sclera, which is white around their eyes, and striped hooves. This first horse pictured is considered a blanket Appaloosa. So it looks like someone's laid a nice spotted blanket around their hips and loins. The spots are normally the same color as the horse's base coat, and it's very localized around the hips and loin. The other kind of marking or pattern work that Appaloosas can have are what we call the leopard Appaloosas. They are kind of known as the Dalmatians of the horse world. They have white coats covered with dark colored spots from head to tail. So you can see this guy has spots on his head down to his legs and different colored mane. So they're just very flashy in their spots. A gruya or grullo. Some people have different ways of saying that. I hope I said it in the best way, I guess. They are often considered to be tan to gray, or some people call them mouse-colored hairs on their body, with a shoulder and dorsal stripes, and black bearing on their lower legs. Black bearings considered black stripes running horizontal on their legs, and then each individual hair is considered mouse-colored. So these are two different types of coloring that they can have as a gruya or grullo, which we don't really see that often. For the coat markings, albino, they are kind of considered to have the pink skin and the pure white coat, and they remain white. They're white throughout their whole lives, but really there's no true albino horses. Most horses that you see that would be considered white are cremello or a very, very, very light gray. If it was a true white horse, it wouldn't really be considered it, because what horses have in genetics is called a lethal white, which if the horse is born a lethal white, they normally don't survive the first day or first couple of days after birth. So albinos are really hard to come by, and a lot of upkeep with that too. Other horse markings would be face markings. This first photo is a good photo of what a star would look like. So it's right in the middle of their forehead with white coloring, white hairs. As for the bald face, these are two different types of bald faces. This one, bald face horses can have the white facial markings extending across the forehead, including their eyes like this one or not like this one, and then down the side of their face. Bald face horses normally need a little bit more protection with their face, sunscreen or some fly masks because they get sunburnt easier. But those are very different types of bald faces. A snip, I know this horse has a star and a snip, which you can kind of put them together, a star, a snip, or just a snip, or just a star. But this little marking down on his muzzle would be a good marking of a spot on, or a snip that they would have on their face. These two are very similar, blaze and then a strip or a stripe is what people call it. The biggest difference is the blaze is a wider stripe down their face, as a strip is a very narrow stripe or strip down their face. So it just kind of is objective of what you would think. Lastly would be common leg markings. These stockings would be the first one, so that can be white hairs extending all the way up to their knee or their hock. And then it can go down, so this can be a half stocking, or some people consider it a sock. Then we have a fetlock sock, a pastern sock, a cornet sock, half stocking, an ankle sock is what some people like to call the ones around the fetlock, and then a heel spot, which is like a good one. This picture is a great identification of a heel spot. So if your horse does have this and you need to find your horse and you need to do this long description of what your horse looks like, this would be a great identifier for people if they're looking out for your horse or a horse that they've lost. These spots up here would be considered ermine spots, so they're on the front where you can see it on their hooves, and they're these little black spots that horses have. They're normally around the cornet band, but not always. But that was my webinar over colors and markings. Like I said, this is a great resource for those that are going to do their advancement levels here for level 2, just for more knowledge about horses. And this would be great for you guys to know if we do have another disaster with flooding and we lose horses. It's a great identification knowledge for you to know. If you guys have any questions that I didn't answer in this webinar, you are welcome to email me at grace.kim@unl.edu. This recording will also be on our YouTube page, so if you would like to refer back to this, it will be on there. Thank you, guys.